We have some vacant chairs up here, so if I could ask the earlier panelists and Wayne Hayden, our speaker, if you could all come up, and then the challenge is to see if you guys have questions for our total morning group. So if the earlier panelists could come up and join our last three panelists.
Dina Moore, I share your concerns about the slowness of payment. I have participated in the last few years on a project that was gratefully received some of the IRWMP funding, but 90 days to get paid, is what we experience typically, and somehow that's got to move faster. This next round of projects here contemplates, billing quarterly, and then you got to wait another quarter to get paid for your services. That's untenable. So I share that. I guess, are you still on the board of this organization, or you're a founding member?
Oh, no, I'm not on a board of this organization. I'm on a small nonprofit, but
Okay.
Thank you for, yeah.
Just want to echo that one.
And I wish ours were 90 days.
My name's Belinda Brown from the Pitt River Tribe, also Modoc County. And this is a model that we are looking at in regards to best practice collaboration. Unfortunately, in our area, we've been not represented very well, and I don't know if that's our fault in regards to showing up. What we found out is all these regions, RCDs and earwimps and LCCs have drawn lines around us that we've had absolutely no consultation with our tribe. And it's very disheartening, and we are looking to the North Coast earwimp to adopt the collaborative strategies that you folks have used here. And I would just ask that all of you be cognizantly aware of sovereignty issues and the fact that there are very unique tribes out there, that our tribe touches 4 counties. We have to consult with 4 counties, with 4 Forest Service, with BLM. We are in, like I said, 4 RCDs, 3 earwimps, and 3 LCCs. And it's very overwhelming. And it is very costly to show up to these meetings. We have imposed ourselves, and we will continue to come to the table and hopefully get what we need at the state level in regards to cultural beneficial use of our river. And we would really like all of you to look at that designation of cultural beneficial use that we've had for time immemorial. Some of us still live on subsistence. I'm sure some people here still live on subsistence. And there is a disconnect between the east side and the west side. I'm not even sure that we should be in Modoc County, in Siskiyou County, in the North Coast, but I understand it's the watershed. So I just would like, to ask all of you to be sensitive and cognizant of the fact that there are partners that aren't as active, and that whatever we need to do to increase that level of communication, we're willing to work on our end. Thank you.
My name is James Gore. I wanted to ask Patty a little bit about the permit coordination program, to expand just a little bit upon how successful that's been, because one of the things that we've talked a lot about over the last couple of days is the desire and the ability sometimes to pull together the resources and the collaborations, but the inability to navigate the environment, whether it's regulations, policies, to get people to say yes to good, to being able to get on the ground and do good work. So, because I know this is happening in other areas of the state. I know it's been a collaboration between RCDs and NRCS over the years, and there's some groups like Sustainable Conservation that are trying to lead it forward. But can you tell us, kind of on a microcosm, what kind of successes you're having and also what you see in other areas?
Okay, I'll just try to summarize that. You would like to know, James, about the role of permit coordination and how it served communities and kind of landscape level facilitating the kind of work that we want to do. I think that the first challenge is finding the funding, and I think this group has been really successful. Yeah, there's some real serious bumps that need to get smoothed out, but in terms of permitting, I have to say that it's like 2 steps forward and 3 back, and then 1 forward and 1 back. It's a little bit of a dance, and we were first at the Mendocino County Resource Conservation District. We were first supported by a DOC grant to create a watershed-based permit coordination program where we identified 8 practices that we did that were following the technical guides that NRCS has, and there are things that you do all the time, like road landing removals, critical area planting, road improvement practices, and it took us about 2 to 3 years to work with sustainable conservation and all the agencies. We had sat down with all the agencies, we had a roundtable, we had field visits, we invited all the environmental groups to the table and talked about what some of their concerns and objectives would be. And then together with NRCS, who covered the federal areas of our permitting nexus so that we didn't have to get individual 404 or, we just could use NRCS's cultural resources staff and their botanical staff to do all of our rare plant surveys. And then we lost that because NRCS found that because if there was no funding that was intermingled with a project, that they could not take on the liability of RCD projects, and so that was a giant step back. But then we've worked together with NRCS to move forward when the Navarro Permit Coordination Program sort of sunset because we had a CEQA document that was determined to need to be renewed, and we had an agreement with Fish and Game that phased out that we had to renegotiate. And so at this point, it's really been the regional water quality, North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board that has been our champion and provided us with funding to do a brand new CEQA mitigated negative declaration, which was adopted by our board in 2012. And so we're just now doing our first county-wide projects with NRCS, and we're negotiating the 401 waiver of waste discharge next month, and we'll probably do a regional general permit with Army Corps of Engineers. We do have, thanks to NOAA, we have a ability to have an incidental take permit that has been structured so that a certain number of projects that we do that require us to either dewater or move fish or another endangered species that's under the NOAA's jurisdiction, we can facilitate that. So, and also Fish and Game, we sat on the table, they're just as nice as pie, but they are not very helpful at streamlining the permit process. We still have to pay the standard fees, we have to do all of the site visits, we have to write all of our permits up. I did one project, I think we have 8 miles of roads that we're upgrading. It was $10,000 just for the Fish and Game permit. So that's an area that really needs work, and maybe the North Coast on some level can facilitate some kind of regional restoration, coordinated permitting program. I know that Sustainable Conservation is working on one, and I know that the Coho Help Act really tried to do, great things, and I take my hat off to everybody who's trying. But I guess my concern would be, can we facilitate landscape level land improvements? I mean, resource conservation districts and NRCS are government agencies. You think it'd be a little easier for us to get our permits. It's really not. So I pity the poor landowner that's trying to navigate this on their own. So I don't know if I've answered any questions, but probably, there's a lot more questions than there are answers right now. But I do think it's a good model. I think that we have to be talking more than just 1 acre or 5 acres. We have to be talking landscape level improvements, because otherwise you're just going back and you're paying more fees and you're pulling more permits. And I'd like to see this be something that is really one-stop shop and streamlined instead of lot more paperwork.
Are we good? Any other burning questions that people have at this time? If not, sorry. Please say something.
I just wanted to respond to the first two comments that we heard, which were kind of following on Dina Moore's presentation. And one of the aspects of this diverse coalition that we struggle with is the fact that it's not just the 7 counties. The 7 counties define the regional area, but within that we have counties, we have cities, we have special districts, we have tribes, we have nonprofit organizations, we have private partners, and that's a long list of different operational structures, and yet the whole thing is ultimately parked under this, state governmental structure that is, at its best, inefficient and clunky. And for the private sector, folks complain about being overregulated by government, and it's valid, but there's no entity that's as regulated as government itself, and our ability to move forward is, for very good reasons of transparency and public process and accountability, all of those things that are put upon us to ensure that, money is being spent properly and not being abused or wasted or whatever, takes time and takes money and slows things down. And so, unfortunately, we've got these other partners that want to, participate with us in this, and they get pulled into those same slow and inefficient and difficult structures. So when we look at things as basic as the ability, just the ability to participate across this large region, the ability to come here from MODOC, and there's a lot of territory here. Some of the partners that we want to engage in this just don't have the same capacity. We've been trying to address that through providing more planning and technical assistance, so that when we're looking at funding grants, grant applications, to just say oh well, no one from MODOC County provided any applications, so there's nothing to fund. Well, if they didn't have the capacity to participate, that's gives everyone else an unfair advantage. So this project has been trying to look at ways that we can level the playing field in that way. And historically, the track record has been very good of fairly equitable distribution across the regions. But there are those tremendous disadvantages that are put out there based upon the distances, the size of some of the entities, their capacity, and their organizational structure. Trying to weed through all of that and find the best way to be equitable to include everybody is going to be an ongoing challenge.
I'd like to say a little bit about the reports that are written by agencies. So many times, a good consultant writes a report, but they don't come and talk to the local people. And the local people have so much knowledge, and you receive a report, you have to review that report and send in comments that would have been much easier for someone to come and talk to us and get that regional knowledge into the report and not have to have it corrected. I think that's so very, very important to talk to the people that live there, because they're the ones that know all of the history. They know which creeks go dry in the summertime, which watersheds have more water, where the wells are that go dry if somebody else turns on their well. I mean, there's so many things that local people know and have knowledge about that should be included in plans, and the plans would be much better written and be able to be used quickly rather than have to do all of this review and all of this work to remove some of the toxins, some of the things that are not applicable to that area. And I think that's really, really important for our agencies to remember. Come before you write your report, and it'll make it a lot easier in our functioning with that report and those regulations, rather than waiting until we have to respond to it. And we all are really, really tired of reading reports and having to correct information. And I think that's really, really an important part of this group and where we can go forward in making things easier for all of our RCDs, all of our people that work on projects, all of our really hard-working people that want to put projects on the ground and make it easier to get those projects moving faster, which is, in government, is very time-consuming. So, thank you.